Welcome back. Now, last weekend, after nearly 20 years, my next guest decided to hang up his football boots for good. During his career, he earned 110 caps for Ireland and made over 600 club appearances. Have a little look at this.
Stephen Reid with the free kick. Oh, lovely glancing header in the goal. Ireland are in front, and Kevin Kilbane has done it. And Brian Kerr's management begins with an 8th-minute goal. Lawrence.
We've got it inside 15 minutes. Can we kick on and get more now?
Duff against Jagiellowski. Right across the Kilbane! Kevin Kilbane puts Ireland in front. And this is sensational. And Ireland are in front in the 63rd minute.
Would you please welcome Kevin Kilbane, ladies and gentlemen?
Here comes the good times. Here comes the good times. Here comes the good times for a change.
Do you like looking at stuff like that, you being brilliant? Do you like that?
No, it was a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Yeah, I'm not a good watcher like that, no, not at all.
I doubt it. So you've decided that's it now, it's time to retire. Why now?
I think the last few months especially, I found myself a bit in and out of the team at Coventry, and I understand we're in League One in English football, the 3rd tier, and I just decided really my heart wasn't in it, and I was spending a lot of time, certainly over the last few years, away from the family, away from my kids, from my daughters, and I just wanted to get to see them more, to be honest with you, and that was the really thing behind my decision.
So it was a kind of collision of many things happening, and you decide that's it, I'm out.
Yeah, it was, and sometimes you get to the stage and. For me, it was an easy decision in the end. It was. Once I'd made it, I had utter relief. I'd made the decision maybe about a month ago.
Yeah.
And once I made the decision, I was watching a concert. I went to watch Alabama Shakes.
Oh, good,
and I kind of had a bit of a brainwave while I was watching Alabama Shakes. And that was it. I knew myself. And when I made the decision, it was like a weight off my shoulders.
And how old are you?
35.
So you're ancient. So in sporting terms, you know, there's also, I suppose, those considerations. But since you said you kind of made up your mind, what, a month ago or 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was. And I mean, last season while I was at Hull, I had a real bad back injury.
Sure.
I had a real bad back injury. I had an operation in January, and it did take its toll, I think, getting back from that a little bit, and managed to get myself back to play. There was a couple of opportunities maybe to go into coaching and take a coaching role, but I decided to carry on. My very good friend Lee Carsley was at Coventry, so he kind of talked me into playing for another season.
And in the week since you've made the announcement to the world, how's it been for you?
It's been manic. It's been a really busy week. It has, yeah. It's been really busy. It has. You know, Monday night I got asked to go on Question of Sport. Did a couple of interviews with Sky over there, then obviously to come over here and do this, which is it's been great. It's been really good and very pleasurable. Yeah, definitely.
Now people will have been talking about Limerick today. I was driving to work this morning, listening to the bulletin saying, "Will Limerick have a new boss there?" Is there a truth to that rumour?
I've had a brief conversation, but I don't know. I say that's.
And when you say brief, did you say not interested, or did you say let's talk?
No, it was nothing like that. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, I was saying before, I retired to take a little bit of time out to try to devote a little bit of time and spend a bit of time with my kids, with my girls. So. Again, I don't know how it's going to go.
But you're not going to rule that out as an option.
Well, again, you know, it's a difficult one because I think probably long term I'd love to stay in the game in coaching, ultimately management. That's where I'd probably see it. And you don't get opportunities to manage and coach, and that's why you've got to look seriously at everything. But I just think, I don't know. I don't genuinely at this moment in time. The plan was always to take that little bit of time out. Okay. So
and then go and see concerts and relax.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We'll take that as a maybe then, if that's okay. And in the meantime, people notice that you don't have a flat Mayo accent, despite the background. But you did grow up in a very Irish home.
I did.
Where?
Yes. I grew up in Preston in England. Both my parents moved over when they were quite young, finished off the schooling in England. Yeah. And they both met in an Irish centre in Preston where I remember when I was growing up, I can't remember ever hearing an English accent. We used to go out, honestly, it was weird, it was strange. I mean, I say that in literally, but when we went out to events or to various things, we were just surrounded by Irish families and Irish kids, and I was the first generation of my family born in England, but always very prominent in my mind, and I knew, you know, I felt Irish basically, and it's a strange thing to say. I did feel that way, yeah.
Well, it's strange, I suppose, in some ways. But anytime I meet people like your good self who have been brought up in this Irish background within, you know, English-born but Irish parents and what have you, they often have they're more in touch culturally with Irish music, dance, culture to an extent, by virtue of being away from it. Do you know what I mean?
Possibly, to an extent. I remember actually Niall Quinn having a conversation about that. Said that you want to hold on to something maybe, and you're always. I remember, you know, I was growing up, both Mum and Dad always speaking about going home. They always saw coming to Ireland as their home, and that's where it stemmed from really. And both my brother and sister, you know, my brother was heavily into Irish dancing as a young child growing up, and we lived in a little bit of a bubble, I suppose you'd say, and it was a very much Irish environment that we grew up in.
And then, of course, you were young enough to be at that golden age of '88 and Italia '90 and so on, where it just changed the face of Irish football.
It did. It really did. I remember obviously watching Euro '88 when Ray Houghton scored against England in Stuttgart, and that was a real, you know, highlight because I think I was coming to the end of my primary school. It would have been 11 at the time. Yeah. And then it was just an amazing period for Irish football, you know, to go on to the World Cup in Italia '90, being round at my friend's house with all, you know, the Irish parents, you know, the
jerseys on.
Yeah. It was definitely, that's the way that we were. And I was saying all my close friends growing up were all from very, very similar backgrounds to me.
So what happens then, Kevin, when the scouts from, say, the England squad come looking for you, and you're there listening to your Dubliners records at home in your bedroom and thinking, well, that's all very well, but then the Irish squad sends scouts. Is there a conflict in your head raging as to which one you'd like to play for?
Well, when I was at Preston in the youth team, I think I was 18 at the time. Yeah. And Sam Allardyce, now coach at West Ham, he was my youth team manager. Yeah. And we'd won our division championship, our youth team championship that season. So Big Sam was cracking open the champagne. The lads were obviously very... And then he had like a bit of a special announcement to make to the team. He basically said to the lads, look, one of the lads in your midst is being called up for England under-18s. And we were only a third division club at the time, League Two as it is now. So obviously you're not expecting it. And certainly one of my teammates to be in the England squad, and then he announced it was me. I was being called up for England, and I remember we'd won the league. We had to go in the following day, and I was frightened to death to go and tell him. Really, I was frightened to death because it meant so much to Big Sam as well. Yeah. So I plucked up the courage to go into his room, and we sat pretty much similar to this across his desk. And Sam was, "Come in, you know, you're getting ready to go and play for England." And I said, "Sam, I just don't want to go. Really don't want to go. Don't want to play for England." It's never been me. I want to play for Ireland. And honest to God, he stood up, he launched himself over the table. I think he threw a haymaker at me, and he was just, I've spent 30 years of my whole career trying to get to your stage, and you turn it down, and, you know, feck off and all this, you know. It was like literally get out. And I got out, and he came down and spoke to me, and he had a chat, and he understood my thoughts, and I think he probably reflected on it a little bit. He gave it half an hour. And he reflected, and I think he realised how strongly I felt about it.
Is that patriotism? Is that background? Is that what is that?
I think it is. I mean, I said I grew up. I grew up. Yeah. I felt Irish, and that's where it was. I mean, it's easy to say now as well. You know, you look at there's a lot of lads, not majority, but there's a lot of English born players that have played for Ireland over the years, and it got to a stage where it was, you know, if you've got any sort of connection, you're in the squad, you get in and things like that, looking at it from the playing side.
Yes, because there was criticism of some players taking the opportunity. Look, they never get a gig in England, in the English squad, but the Irish one's an easier one, so they'll claim that. Is that cynical, or is that the case?
I think if you make a decision, you've got to stick to your decision. That's the way I see it. I really do believe that. I think you've got to make your decision. I mean, it varies because sometimes you could be under 21s. It could come at a late stage. You never know. But I don't like some of the players that I've seen over the years when they're saying, "Well, look, I might get in England squad for a Championship, a Euros, or a World Cup, and if I don't, I'll play for Ireland in the next campaign." And I've seen it being said, and I think everyone's seen it. And it's just, for me, it's just not right. It's just kind of using Ireland as a mechanism to try and get them a bit of publicity, I think, as well.
But you got there. You got the Ireland squad. You got to the World Cup. And I know that was a hugely important moment for you in your life.
It was, definitely. I mean, the highlight of my career, without a doubt. You know, when we qualified, we had the two legs, the playoff against Iran. Amazing experience, going to the World Cup. And
where were you when Mick McCarthy arrived into the room to have a chat with Roy Keane?
We were strange. We were on we were on three tables. I roomed with Niall Quinn for a good few years, and Niall is if people that know him, he's late for everything. Quinny's late for everything. So this particular day, we went down for dinner. Obviously, Niall and myself were down for dinner. So there was 3 circular tables just in a row, basically, and all the lads had filled the 2 tables, quite big. So Niall and myself then sat on this one table on our own. So then Roy comes down after that, obviously on the phone or whatever it is. So we sat down and Roy just said to me, because he come and sat on my left-hand side and said, it's going to go off tonight. So anyway, we sat there and Mick comes in from our right-hand side. So everybody turned to Mick. I've turned here and I've got Roy Keane literally on my left shoulder here, saying to Mick, he's slaughtering Mick, he's having a go, and then the rest is history. And I'm expecting it to come to blows and, you know...
Did you take sides in that civil war?
Well, I think we had to. We all wanted to play in the World Cup. I think everyone recognised that. It was a difficult time. It was difficult for any player then, I think, to step aside and say, supporting Roy. I think everybody, you know, respected Roy for his views and everything, how it was. And he was a massive part in us even getting to the World Cup. He was brilliant through the campaign of qualification. But I think once Roy had made the decision, I think once it had all happened, I think that every player was firmly, I wouldn't say with Mick or whatever it is, I think he had sympathy with Roy, but Mick was a huge influence on my career and on my life, and I couldn't then all of a sudden turn down the opportunity. Yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult, I think, for every player at the time within the squad. But again, we were in a little bubble, so you never got the sense of the magnitude. You never got the sense of how big the story was back home.
Yeah,
and it was worldwide. It was worldwide, of course. But we were in that bubble together in the squad, and there was messages getting back to the squad. You know, we were seeing various, like a couple of days later, a newspaper report would come out and things like that, and you were seeing what was being written, and you started to sense what was happening, but you didn't get that true feeling for it.
Let me mention your 2 girls, because you said them. I want to kind of end the interview as you started, which was you're giving all of this up to be closer to them and be with them. We've a lovely picture of the two of them there. Tell me about them.
Yeah, Elsie, who's 8, and Isla, that's 7. Yeah, two wonderful children. Yeah, I couldn't be, you know, prouder dad, and it's magnificent for me to have two great girls.
And are they good for you?
Yeah, they have been. They have been really, really good for me over the years. You know, it's been difficult, I think, over the years when you spend so much time on the road, and I think that was definitely in my mindset. Because saying before, because you spend that much time away from them, you kind of miss so much of the childhood. You're trying to dedicate yourself as much as you can to your profession, and you wouldn't want to say something's got to give on that, but it's difficult, you know, to have a real set, solid ground and a base at home, and that's what I want.
And you're a patron of the Down Syndrome Association, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Elsie has Down syndrome, and when Elsie was born, you know, the Down Syndrome Association over in England were really good. They were really good. You know, it was difficult for us when Elsie was born. I think everybody, certainly for every mother.
Your initial responses.
Yeah, I think. And the people and the families that I've spoken to that have got children with Downs and have given birth to their children with Downs, it's you kind of have like a grieving process. You've lost a child that you
were expecting.
Yeah, you're expecting, of course, and I think more so with Laura, you know, because she was obviously around Elsie a lot, and I kind of got on with it. I was basically into the playing football every week. I remember within a couple of weeks I was over here in the Irish squad. We had a game under Brian Kerr at the time. Brian was wonderful with me. He recognised that it was a tough period for me, but you were kind of just having to get on with your life, and you have to accept, you know, Elsie is just like any other little girl.
She looks beautiful.
She's wonderful. She's a great girl.
And now you're going to have all this time with her, which is gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 2 of them are in school together. They're both in mainstream school over in England, and it's brilliant. Yeah, really, really good.
We hadn't met before tonight, but you really are on air and off air, a total gentleman. It's a real pleasure to meet you tonight. Kevin Kilbane, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Kevin. I mean that. Thanks a lot. Really nice to meet you. Okay. Here we go. Music.